Welcome back, Seekers and Saints, to Fire in the Bones vlog. Today is July 25th, so we're going to be talking about the sermon from July 23rd, continuing with Pastor Shane's series on 2 Peter. So this last Sunday was particularly interesting for me and really is a topic that I've thought a lot about because it has to do with end time prophecy. Now, I'm not much of an end time guy myself, but it's more the attitudes that surround it. And so Peter, in 2 Peter chapter 3, he talks about the end times, and he establishes a few key points that Pastor Shane went over. One is that they're real. The end days are real. The days when Jesus returns, brings the faithful out, and remakes heaven and earth, that's real. Okay, clear as day there. Second is that there's going to be people who deny it. And really, when you think about it, this is a long-standing tradition in biblical history. When you go back to the time of the prophets, there were tons of scoffers. Some prophets were always, God was saying through the prophet, that is, that all of you guys keep saying, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? So Peter's really just kind of saying that hasn't stopped. People are still going to deny that what Jesus said about the end and what we know about the end is ever going to happen. And the final point is the scoffed are going to always ask the question, when's it going to happen? And they're going to do this because of mostly a corrupted heart. They don't believe it. They're happy with their life. They don't want to acknowledge an end time, because if they acknowledge an end time, now they have to look at themselves and say, where am I lacking in God's sight? And these are all really true, perfect, no problems there. But I want to take, of course, another angle at it. And that is, why do we scoff? So if you want to think about the title of this vlog, it would be, I guess, Stoppa de Scoffin. So here is why people scoff who are believers. Not just unbelievers, but believers. And I'm one of them. Let me reassure you, I don't deny there's an end times. I know all of these things are true. Peter is telling the truth. But I have heard so many end time prophecies that I just can't stand hearing them anymore. I just can't tolerate it. And basically, I'm in the position of the boy who cried wolf. Remember that story? Boy cries wolf, wolf, wolf. It's not that the townsfolk deny that wolves exist or that they couldn't show up. It's more that they just denied that they just didn't believe the boy anymore. And that's where I'm at. Every time I hear a pastor saying Jesus is coming soon, and that's not necessarily a false statement, but it unfortunately gets hitched to Jesus is coming on February 28th, 2026. It gets hitched to that wagon, unfairly maybe, but it does. So today, what are you to do if you are in this scoffing position? Well, I'm going to address two kinds of people here first. First, let me address the people like me. So if you're a scoffer, like a believing scoffer, or you're having difficulty, one is remember the words of Peter. They are going to happen. Don't ever let your reticence, don't ever let your ill feelings towards false preaching pastors deny the truth. And to help you do that, recognize the signs. The Bible has laid out some clear signs. And one of them, Pastor Shane brought up, was the formation of Israel. Now, if you're a pre-trib like me, these other ones you probably won't see. But just in case, here are a few. One, you're going to see peace in the Middle East. I mean legitimate peace, not just President so-and-so is having talks with so-and-so and so. No, I mean there's an actual concrete ceasefire, no more of that. Two, the temple is going up. Actual construction plans. I don't mean they're making implements and storing it in a warehouse. I mean groundbreaking has occurred, architect fees are up, maybe the Dome of the Rock isn't there anymore, I don't know. But the point is that temple is going up and going up soon. You see those things, we've already got one of them knocked down. You see the other two, times are coming, and they're coming fast. Now, again, if you're pre-trib like me, you're probably not going to see the latter two, but we all have seen the first. So don't deny. But now I want to turn most of my venom on the false preaching pastors. I want you guys to know that, and when I say you guys, I don't mean all of you. Most of you I know are not pastors. But for those of you that might read the books, for those of you that really get caught up in that, look, I get it. It's exciting. Maybe you've been a believer for 50 years and you've read the same old passage, and here comes this new prophetic thing that's exciting. It's like watching a Marvel movie. Don't give in to it. Just don't. Because remember what Jesus said in Acts 1:8. It is not for you to know the dates and periods the Lord has set by his own authority in heaven. If we're not supposed to know, and Jesus doesn't even know the date, then who are you and who is Pastor so-and-so? And for Pastor so-and-so, before you go preaching, consider Deuteronomy 18:20. In fact, I have it pulled up here. 18:20, Deuteronomy 18:20. But a prophet who presumes to speak in my name, and if you're a pastor claiming dates and future points, you're playing prophet, who speak in my name anything I have not commanded, or a prophet who speaks in the name of other gods is to be put to death. See this? We're in different times now, but if we were in the time of Moses, this is what would be coming at your face every time you predicted that Jesus is returning next year and it didn't happen. Okay? Think about that with fear and trembling. And that's also a believer too. If you're going to go out and start saying, I think this is going to happen, and especially start putting dates on it, remember the rock. Because this is what they used to do to people like you, because truth is that important to God. Because also, when you're doing that, what aren't you saying? The gospel. When you are doing this, what are you really doing? You're giving ammo to our opponents. Pastor Shane talked about this, but I really wanted to drill in more. I really wanted to lean in harder and do the rock, because that's how serious this is. If you're one of those pastors, or even a believer, just a regular laity, who is going around promulgating an end date, just remember, when I'm not going to say you're not saved, but when you stand before God, what great thing are you going to have for him? What great defense will you have that says, I made a false prophecy, but it felt good at the time, or it seemed right. I know I didn't tell people about the gospel. I know it pushed people away. I know it caused divisiveness in my church, but darn it, it seemed right. Is that what you're going to tell God? Is you think that's going to fly with him? I'm not saying you'll get cast out. Jesus has paid and atoned for everything. But I personally wouldn't want to have to deal with God. I wouldn't want to have to deal with God and say, sorry for the false prophecy. So here is the conclusion of the matter. I know it's a little rambling, but here's the ultimate conclusion of the matter. If you're like me, the end times are coming. Remember it. But if you're a pastor or anyone else, don't give people a reason not to believe that. Stick to the gospel, and that's our job. Thanks for joining me today. I know it was a little bit harsh, but hey, sometimes we gotta have that tough love, I guess. I'll see you next week on Fire in the Bones.